Good evening and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for putting this on. My name is Jerome. This is Psycho Silver. I do hope that today you're counting your wealth in ounces and above all that you're holding your word, especially to yourself. Thanks for putting on the show. It's Sunday night and it's got to be the most interesting, anticipation-filled Sunday night that I can recall. In terms of economics and world news, we have the whole world waiting with bated breath to see what comes of this Monday opening. We will have these Asian markets open pretty soon here, and there's a lot of anticipation, a lot of angst about what comes next. Rumors of the Credit Suisse defaulting, and we're not entirely sure that we're past the UK bond crisis either. So they did make it sound like that situation was all better, but I have my doubts. These things, as far as I know, have a way, once they start to get off the leash a little bit, it can get out of hand, even when it seems like it's back under control. We don't know what damage has already been done. So welcome to the show. We're going to cruise the internet, where I aggregate so many different sources of news. I've been doing this for years. I have a Twitter, a TikTok, an Instagram, Gab, Reddit, all set up to bring me interesting news, especially about world events, economics and finance, and especially stacking silver. I also like to keep a really close eye on what is the manipulation that people encounter when they try and educate themselves on finance. What is the trickery of the mainstream media in regards to the wool that is pulled over the eyes of the bottom 50% that hold only 2% of the world wealth? Very interesting. So we will see what comes of this week, and my goal here is we're gonna build some anticipation heading into Monday. It's gonna get interesting. We do see the storm. I was told there would be some sort of storm. I heard there may be a precipice of sorts. Did y'all hear that too? Is this it? I keep trying to think of a way where this can turn out all right, and it really it's really tough. It's really tough to just conjure a scenario where this turns out okay, because at this point the economic system, the debt and death dollar Ponzi scheme that we live under, is terminal, and there's no way out except to let it crash and burn a little bit. But what comes next? Do people finally educate themselves? Do they finally have some distrust? Is the illusion shattered? Is the illusion finally shattered? Or do we continue to trust the powers that be? We're getting close. We're getting close to the time where the people that choose not to see are going to have to either decide to see, or they're just going to close their eyes permanently. Interesting stuff. Let's jump into the news. Here we have a tweet from the legendary, the Godfather, Ron Paul. Ron Paul writes, let's zoom in a little here. Ron Paul writes, the unconstitutional and immoral Federal Reserve should not exist, but it does exist, and has created an economic debacle so great that the entire world has never seen anything like this before. It would be very naive to think that the Fed has a handle on this and knows what to do. So he thinks they have no clue, eh? Let's read this thread. I got my anticipation high. I got a spike of adrenaline reading that. Ron Paul writes, Amongst other reasons, the Fed was created in an attempt to control market forces that are uncontrollable. It's been used to try and plan the economy despite the immutable fact that economies can't be planned. The Fed has failed. There was never a chance for success. Oh my gosh. Ron Paul. Love that man. He is this is a saying that they always use. So-and-so is a national treasure. No, Ron Paul is national. He's one of those guys. Ron Paul is one of those guys in the future. Okay, so he was never president, but that is one of the most influential and important men in the history of this country. And he has changed the opinions and awakened the patriotism and the intellectual curiosity of so many people. Sound money matters. People, there's levels to this. And the money matters so much. And not just the presence of money or the lack thereof of money, but the system itself. On to next thing. Here we have an article from RT. RT writes, BRICS hold talks on reserve currency. Diplomat. The group is reportedly set to develop alternative payment mechanisms to shift away from the US dollar and the euro. So this has been a long time coming, very long time. And they have a picture of gold there. What does RT know? We'll read this first couple paragraphs and get the gist of it. The BRICS countries are working on establishing a new reserve currency to better serve the economic interests. The ambassador at large of Russia's foreign ministry, Pavel Kazintsev, I can't say that, said this week. It will be based on a basket of currencies of the 5-nation bloc. Oh, they're going for the old basket of currencies. The possibility and prospects of settling up a common single currency based on a basket of currency of the BRICS countries is being discussed. Said during a discussion about expanding BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, according to the diplomat, the member states are actively studying mechanisms to exchange financial information to develop a reliable alternative for international payments. So that's not very new news here. They've been working on that for quite a while now, but we do see them steadily making progress. There was a point not long ago where all this talk was just a whisper. It was conjecture. And we're seeing that now this is becoming a reality. Yet another hole in the boat of the dollar, correct? Here we have a post from Gab. We got a little cartoon. Let's check this out. Full screen.
What do you mean the bank is out of money?
Insolvent? You only have enough cash for the next 3 customers! Hey, just a second here. No, I don't have your money here. It's in Bill's house and Fred's house.
Hey, what the hell you doing with my money in your house, Fred?
And that's how it works. Not much to add there. I do suspect this will come to pass as a reality. And when we do see that that's happening, we will know right then and there this shit is getting real. It's already getting real, but it'll be hyper real at that point. And oh yes, it's coming. It must. Next up, this was an interesting, this was a post on Gab. It looks like it was taken as screenshots from a Twitter feed. And I actually couldn't find the Twitter, but this was really interesting here. Oh, let me set this up real quick. This user writes, Declaration of war is trending on German Twitter. Sanctions against USA is getting some airplay. Calls by some for Germany to align with Russia. I have a sudden sense of deja vu, as if I read somewhere something like this is happening. Are they getting it? The USA is playing a highly dangerous game. Either the German government sees through it and rows against it, or drags out the entire population into the abyss. And they say it's the USA, but it's not really the USA, right? It's the, what are we going to call them tonight? How are we going to fly under the radar? We'll just call them the Western Banking Cartel. It's not really the USA, is it? Next. The USA has always tried to split Germany and Russia on all levels. This isn't a conspiracy theory. The US makes no secret that the alliance would be a threat to the US. Nord Stream 2 should be put to an end with all might. There's talk of sabotage in action. It's correct. From a purely rational point of view, there is only one possibility, only one country on this earth that has both the power and the interest to end Nord Stream 2. Who actually sanctions the USA and the Pentagon? Lordy, this is... Whew. Wolfgang Group, owner of a textile group, openly called for a break with the US following the Nord Stream attack. Anti-American sentiment in Germany is growing under the hashtag, I don't know how to say that, meaning declaration of war. Oh, that is spicy. Is that the illusion shattering again? The illusion of the media? Potentially. Here we have a cartoon. We have Uncle Sam riding in his Washington Post tank. Off to war. No time for domestic issues now. Well, we have this gentleman here. Victim of inflation. Will work for food. Sorry, bro. Sorry, dude. And that was from, this is a pretty interesting website. This is from Mint Press. Alternative News, Mint Press. Here we have a post from Reddit. From Wall Street Silver, the legendary Rod Keentz writes, 2 reputable silver retailers both told me at the same time today that the silver market's getting really tight. I was also informed that one of the largest wholesalers worldwide is 99% out of silver. Yes, 99% out of silver. Silver squeeze, anyone? Here's a tweet from Graham Stephan. 600 billion, what Lehman Brothers held in assets when they crashed and took the economy with them. 2,800 billion, what Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank control. 4.6 times more. Credit Suisse is a critical moment now, says the CEO. What lies in store for the world? Here's a really interesting article, and I don't want to get too deep into this. I'm a little concerned even just talking about this at this point. I don't want to get nuked before I even... I don't want to be a stillborn baby here. State of the billionaire press concerns over media objectivity after Bill Gates gives $319 million to news outlets. Ooh. On November 2021, Mint Press, Alan McLeod uncovered documents exposing $319 million of donations made by the Gates Foundation to various American and foreign media outlets. The main beneficiaries of these grants include the variety of mainstream, independent, foreign, and domestic outlets such as CNN, PBS, NPR, The Guardian, Le Monde, and Al Jazeera. No surprise there, huh? Yep.
Wolves can be dangerous, but also friendly.
They can sure look friendly, can't they?
Wolves can be dangerous, but also friendly.
One donation awarded $3.6 million grant to CNN's reporting on gender inequality in developing nations. Another considerable donation was given to the Texas Tribune to increase social awareness and support for education reform in the state. The Gates family are supporters of the charter system. It is possible the Texas Tribune grant could inspire pro-charter school propaganda. Where is I'm gonna get really good at these.
But hey, these wolves really look friendly.
Sounds like a really nice guy, that Bill Gates, eh? Here's another article from RT. RT writes, Britons burn energy bills to protest soaring prices. Videos. Let's just look at the video. Oops, sorry. That was hurting my ears. I tried to adjust the volume. Let's try that again. My apologies. Mm-hmm. Grassroots campaign Don't Pay UK, which co-organized the protest, said it wants to pressure government into reducing energy bills to an affordable level. Blood from a stone, eh? Blood from a stone. I mean, yeah. Yeah, but they've put themselves in a situation where it's not even an option, kind of like Germany, eh? You can't negotiate if you've destroyed all your negotiating pieces. Here's a really spicy article, and I'm just gonna recommend this article and give you the gist of it. But this is the real stuff right here. This is where you level up. If you read this kind of stuff, we know there's corruption. And we know that people like old Gates and Soros, they love their NGOs and they love their nonprofits, and they get really good press. They get really good press from their donations.
But hey, these wolves really look friendly.
They make these donations, and you see all these news reports like, oh, these guys are so wonderful. They care so much. But there's a reason that they do this.
Wolves can be dangerous, but also friendly.
Here, from Corey's Digs, I'll just give you the rough, the broad strokes. Laundering with immunity, the control framework. A band of criminals got together 1 century ago and decided they were going to own the world, hold all the power, create and hoard all the money, and keep everyone in a constant spin cycle to fool them. Not only were they going to construct it as they saw fit, but they were going to build the most elaborate enslavement system the world has ever seen, one that gives them full immunity, allows them to operate outside the law entirely, and they were going to do it without anyone realizing it until it was too late. This article uncovers 76 international organizations and banks that enjoy immunities, privileges, and tax exemptions. Gavi, Big P, and CERN enjoy similar immunities. The Bank of International Settlements has sovereign immunity, and some of these immunities extend to its members, being 63 central banks in the Federal Reserve System, while other immunities extend to systematically important institutions. Trillions of taxpayer dollars and printed money has moved through these organizations and banks with no transparency or accountability as they continue to build a global enslavement system. Hundreds, if not thousands, of NGOs and corporations work with and through these organizations, and banks, some of whom have agreements, NDAs, and or immunity by extension. Please do come over here to Corey's digs and learn the nuts and bolts of this and level up your understanding of how this stuff actually works. Next up. Peter Spina writes, dominoes are falling. A major international investment bank is on the brink. Oh, you kind of know which one that is. Is there two, though? Is there two? Is it more? Is it one that we don't suspect?
I was calm on the outside, but thinking all the time.
Next up. This is a crazy tweet. This is crazy right here. Let me read the text first before we get into this graph here. Golden Coast, Cassandra writes, so something happened with the drastic increase in the paper gold future derivatives market more than any other year recorded. I'm sure that it's nothing. It's probably nothing, guys. We need a good sound. We need a good sound effect for that one. It's probably nothing. It can be real. You're just watching a movie. So this is a year by year breakdown here. And I don't know if you are involved in the community as a stacker and you are into precious metals by now, it's hard for me to imagine that you really don't know what's going on with this. But suffice to say, the explosion in paper derivatives in the gold market could only mean one thing, in my opinion. It could only mean one fucking thing. It's price suppression, right? There's no doubt about it. And now would be the time. And this does two things for them. First, first thing the price suppression does is it bolsters, it underpins, it supports the dollar while they can. But it also allows them to trade dollars and scoop up all the real assets. Well, that system is being destroyed. You follow me?
We are not gamblers here at the Iron Bank, Lord Tyrell.
I would love to see that same chart in platinum and silver. But that's pretty astonishing just in gold alone. I would assume that platinum and silver is even crazier than that. FX Hedge writes, a large investor that deals with Credit Suisse says the investment bank is a disaster. CDS trading like a Lehman moment about to hit. CDS is credit default swaps. And we did cover that in another show. And maybe we need an in-depth analysis of what is a credit default swap. I might have to make that video for us. And underneath we have a good tweet from Quoth the Raven. Meltdown Monday coming together nicely. As we wait with bated breath. Here's a tweet from the great Martí. He writes, the VIX looks like Mount Vesuvius about to erupt. What's the expression about this? You knock once, you knock twice, you knock 3 times, and someone's probably going to let you in. Next up. Here we have a article from Bloomberg. We'll just read the headline here. It says a $1 trillion burden looms for world borrowers refinancing debt. The extra cost to issue bonds recently surged to a record. Global bond investors have lost a record 14% so far in 2022. Governments and companies around the world are facing unprecedented costs to refinance bonds, a burden that's set to deepen fissures in debt markets and expose more vulnerabilities among weaker borrowers. So we did cover what the interest, we had a standalone video about the dollar milkshake theory. And what we do see is that when they raise the interest rates, it puts an enormous pressure upon dollar-based debt, especially in other countries. When those interest rates go up, all kinds of havoc. But also in the bond market, it appears that you are not seeing a bid for the bonds, and we are all left to speculate. Why aren't they buying the bonds? Why is the rates getting so high on the bonds? Well, we know that some of the liquidity is drying up, right? Some of the liquidity is drying up, but also, is it that they're not catching a bid? Why is that? Do they think they're going to get a better deal? Do they expect rates to just keep racing higher and higher? So why take this rate when a better rate is coming? I don't know. Or is it that foreign countries are saying, fuck your bonds, we have enough. In fact, we're dumping them. Maybe the market's saturated. I don't know. I just work here, guys. Y'all tell me, leave me a comment in the comment section why you think that this is happening. Next tweet. Here we have a tweet from Michael Tracy. Michael Tracy says, David Petraeus. You guys remember David Petraeus? That was the one that I think famously Obama helped to get rid of over a sex scandal. Before sex scandals were, I mean, it was like a precursor to the Me Too. And if I can't recall, what this Petraeus did was not even really that bad. I think he was just having an affair. It wasn't even like an allegation of hardcore harassment or being crude or anything. I think they just caught him having an affair and they roasted the guy. But here we go. David Petraeus said today that if a tactical nuke is used in Ukraine, the U.S. will immediately launch an all-out conventional war on Russia. Oh, lovely. No thought given to consulting Congress or the public first. They've already decided ahead of time to launch World War III. And that is that. If this is the plan, how about just submitting a formal declaration of war to Congress? At least that way we can see if the majority of Americans via their elected representatives really want to launch World War III over the Donbass. Well, we know the answer to that, right? We know that that's not up to us. Next up. Oh, I didn't mean to put this in the show, but we'll have a look anyway. Here is more insanity. This is from Clown World. Y'all like going to a fashion show? Let's check out this fashion show. Ooh, I don't want to get a strike from that music. Pretty awful, guys. Fashion. All right, that's enough of that fucking weird shit. On to the next thing. Make sure I pause this so it's not eating up some RAM. Next up, we have a tweet from Izan, unacceptable, at J. Curry. Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse are rumored to be in trouble. Both are too big to fail, but they may also be too big to bail. Combined with that last week's crunch in the UK, the world financial system is looking very shaky. Let's read these other tweets. The problem is not Truss's tax cut or DBCS dodgy loans to Chinese property developers. It's that years of zero interest rates have punched far too much imaginary money into the world financial system. The reality is, once again, poking its nose in. I was looking at There was more interesting sound effects that I was really trying to use. Sorry to break the momentum here, but I'm a little disappointed. Where did they go? Yeah, they're just not here, are they? Okay, onward. Normal course banking is lending money against the security. Normal course banking is lending money against security in the form of real assets valued fairly. Arguably, the model that was pretty much over when the banks were bailed out again in 2008. What is a half-built condo building in China? What is a half-built condo building in China worth when the owners stopped paying their mortgages? Old school banking had bad loan provision baked in. Senior management were not unhappy with the manager who ran a 1 or 2% bad loan because it indicated some appetite for risk. This was a model for stability rather than growth. This is really good. Bank shares are traded, and back in the day, careful analysts would rate banks using metrics which included broad evaluations of their credit risk profile. In broad terms, they were lending to which sectors of the economy. Big banks went from international in the 1960s, and once again, big banks went international in the 1960s. Once again, credit risk profiles were created based on the country's risk of a bank's international lending activity. Still a system geared towards stability rather than growth. Well, what changed? My gold bug friends will tell you at the end of the gold standard in 1971 has led directly to the mess that we're in. It certainly is a fairly significant discipline from the creation of imaginary money. That discipline was restored to a degree by the Volcker interest rate squeeze in the 1980s. But once that was done and the recession it produced done, the Reagan supply side economics and the Clinton boom created permanent government deficits. Much of the same thing happened to other G20 nations, and in every case, these deficits needed to be financed. Big banking, really big banking without too much concern for real assets and stability had arrived. It's a system of collective irresponsibility. Governments spend money they don't have, and that money drives real and not so real asset prices up so the banks can lend imaginary money based on imaginary asset values. Fucking makes a lot of sense. This is a really excellent thread. How long does it go? Ooh, that's a long thread. Can we read the whole thing? Let's go for it. The trouble is that events can destroy these make-believe asset values literally overnight. Non-paying Chinese condo owners backfiring anti-Russia sanctions, the collapse of the green energy illusion in Europe. All of a sudden, there is a reality. One of the unspoken assumptions about the make-believe world of big banking is that there are larger players that will not be allowed to fail. Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse, if they are in trouble, will be bailed out. But will they? Right at the moment of capacity of European governments to bail out big banks. Let's try this again. Right at the moment, the capacity of European banks to bail out banks this big has to be questioned. The energy shortage and pricing all over Europe are causing factories to close. People have no work, and that is cascading. When GDP falls and unemployment rises, the go-to Keynesian response, I gotta shut this. Sorry to break the flow here. These alerts are really ruining my flow here. This is a disaster. I'll never watch this show again. Let me kill this. Gotta destroy these alerts are ruining my show. Okay, hopefully I got it here. Okay, let's go again. When GDP falls and unemployment rises, the go-to Keynesian response is to borrow a lot of money and get things going again, which put pressure on the money markets, adding to the cost of big bank bailouts. Will add to that pressure. Got it. The people who lend in those markets may have behaved like drunken sailors for the last couple decades, but the collapse of one or both of the Deutsche Bank or Credit Suisse will sober them up very quickly. Now their one job will be panicked capital preservation. All of a sudden, bond traders, FX guys, big brokers, big pension fund managers will rediscover the virtues of old school banking. They will demand market to market collateral, and this will make 2008 look puny. More later. Right now, the sun is glorious, and I need to hop on my Vespa and deposit my rent in the bank, which I hope will still be open. Whoa. What a thread. What a thread. Here we have a tweet from the great Marty. The great Marty writes, Dow Jones, 3 gaps left that could close this week before we see any kind of reprieve. Well, he's predicting quite a leg down this week, at least potentially. Here we have an article from a source we shall not name. 2023 will be a year from hell. Top financial analyst warns Europe could suck the rest of the world down the tubes. Here's a little sub-headline. In Europe, I believe they are actually deliberately doing this. This is Klaus Schwab's Great Reset. This is Martin Armstrong. Legendary financial and geopolitical cycle analyst Martin Armstrong says nothing is going to get better by the end of 2022, and he is still forecasting chaos in 2023. Armstrong says the plunge in the stock market last week is all because of extreme uncertainty. Armstrong predicted the stock market crash 2 months ago and contends that it's not over. Next up. Here's some more TA, technical analysis from the great Marty. He writes, Bitcoin, 12K is the short-term target. But I thought we were going to 100K, guys.
Have you ever wanted to believe in something, even though you knew it couldn't be true? Did you ever want to believe it so bad?
Might be a good time to buy if you're into this sort of stuff. I'm sitting this one out because I think that there's more interesting opportunities in precious metals. I'm a silver stacker. And I do hold quite a bit of equities. I mean, for me, not compared to some people out there. Next up, we have Pax Trader 777. I will not be trading tomorrow. I lost over 1 million of my own money I never dreamed I could have a couple years prior, on a surprise rate cut on January 3rd, 2001. I'm very sensitive to this kind of stuff. I'm sure I'm being way overly defensive, but that's how I survive to thrive. Good stuff. Will there be? Isn't that a real possibility that the markets tomorrow morning on Monday, we see them go whoosh, and then they pop back up and they're like, hey, surprise rate cut, guys. Just kidding. Just kidding. It's totally possible, especially if they're trying to mitigate some of the damage that's already been caused. I think ultimately we do believe they reverse course again. They will choose the path of hyperinflation, because then they don't have to take the blame for an economic shock, right? They can defer. It's all they do is they defer. What's the word? They defer accountability. They defer the reckoning. They've been doing it for a long time. And so they'll defer again and there'll be hyperinflation, but that'll be the next man's problem. I'm sure they just plan on managing that situation when they get there. But we saw England do it. I have no doubt. And there's really only a couple plays out there to the potential of hyperinflation. Oh, that was the wrong one. What's this one? And silver. We need a silver one, guys. All right. And this will be my final slide for the evening. But once again, I might have to do 2 shows tonight because things are heating up. This is the most intense Sunday night anticipating the opens of the next day's market I've ever seen. This is crazy. What happens next? Here's a good tweet from Michael. Michael at the hashtag silver squeeze writes, half of Atmex's entire kilo silver bar inventory is now back ordered, pre-sale only. And what they do have in stock is in the lowest level all year. So there was a silver squeeze over this weekend. There was an organized silver squeeze, which I did participate in. I look forward to showing you my haul from this weekend's October 1st silver squeeze. When it gets here, I'll be happy to show you. I'll rip it open on camera, show you what I'm getting. But I believe that not all of these sales are naturally, it's not just because there's a silver squeeze. Like, people are finding their way over to precious metals and they're looking for alternative ways of protecting their. There's a lot of people that are becoming aware now. Some slower than others, but that illusion is being shattered, and people are, I'm sure it's a lot of older folks that are remembering what their uncles and their fathers and their grandfathers did. A lot of people in the 50 and over who have some memory of sound money are saying, all right, I've heard of what to do in this situation. I've lived through it, or I've at least heard about it. And they're going and they're leveling up on some precious metals. It's the play. It's the play of the century. Of this century. All right, guys. That does conclude my show for this evening. I do appreciate if you made it all 42 minutes. Thank you very much. And I will have another show potentially tonight. Maybe tonight I'll do some shorts. I don't know, but we're going to keep an eagle eye on the LBMA, on the COMEX. And now we're more like a spider, because we got one eye on the COMEX, one eye on the LBMA, one eye on the Russia situation, one eye on the market open tomorrow, one eye. We need a lot of eyes, at least 8 eyes. The Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank. There's a lot going on. But I do appreciate you for making it all the way through this episode. And I will have another one for you very soon. You have a good night. And I hope that you are in good health. You take care.